season. I'm not looking at Derek Carr, I do like Andre Holmes, but I'm not looking at them to beat the Browns through the air. What worries me is that I don't care what their stats are. Darren McFadden can play football, Jones-Drew, if healthy, can play football. He has played well historically against the Browns. Remember during his years in Jacksonville, he was a Browns enemy there over the time there. So they can run, and we can't stop the run. They better figure out how to stop the run this week.
Well, one thing is going to be a question of whether Ataiba Rubin's going to come back, and he's been hoping to. He's going to be kind of a game-time decision. But if he does come back, that's really going to help because he's going to be one of the keys to. Not that Kitchen has done a bad job in his absence, but Rubin's really going to help out there. I think if they're able to do so, and just the fact that that's an acknowledged weakness of the team. Hopefully, the defense has been gearing up to stop the run. Because again, to take nothing away from Derek Carr, but I think this is a situation where you have to say, we have to stop the run. Not that you want Carr to beat you, but if you can stop the rushing attack, it hasn't really been that great. I mean, when I look at the Jaguars, pretty much the formula is if you can score 15 points, the Raiders, if you can score 15 points, you can beat the Raiders because they've only scored more than 15 points once. And that was against the Chargers when they lost, I think it was 29-28. And so you say, well, how good can the Raiders be? Like, when everything's going right for the Raiders, what happens? And that was the game that they lost to the Chargers. They came very close to actually winning that one. And Carr threw 4 touchdown passes, amazingly enough. And McFadden ran for 80 yards. Just 80 yards, not even 100 yards. So that seems like it's about as good as it's going to get. So if you can put the brakes on McFadden and the rushing attack, you have to kind of dare Carr to go through the air, and you have to say, you know what, we're just have to trust our defensive backs to stop Derek Carr. And the thing is, he's going to be just fine. I mean, they're saying that, the Raiders are not 0-6 because of Derek Carr. He just needs some more weapons around him. He doesn't have a whole lot of weapons, but he's going to turn out to be a pretty good quarterback in this league. But the time has not come yet because he's still very young, and he just needs some more. He just needs a lot more help.
I agree with you, Jeff Gorman, Browns101.com. We're talking about the Raiders here coming up, and this is why I'm glad. I'm not glad what happened last week, but I mean, I'm glad that at least these 2 games came back-to-back because, brother, there is you can say trap game. That word drives me crazy because we said it last week. Browns are not good enough to use the word trap anything. Like right now, You're trying to dig out of your own history, but having these games back to back, they have to know we focus. We don't go out here and lay an egg. And here's why I'm glad, because literally when I was getting my show prep together, I was clicking some background pieces for stats and stuff like that, and I opened an article. And this is the dumb stuff that you better hope that players don't read, and they can click on the internet just like we can. But this was a major reference point. This wasn't a fan blog. This was a news article that started with, if the Oakland Raiders don't get a win this weekend, it may be their best chance to not go 0-16. Now, when you better hope that you're not looking at that, but that's why I say I'm glad that you got smacked around by Jacksonville last week, because otherwise you go out there and do it again. This is big for me to see. You better go out there and play some football this week. I'm not telling you to blow the Raiders out, but you better go out there and look like a good football team and win this game decisively.
Well, you're right, J-Rock. Everything sets up to be a game where the Browns bounce back and perform very well. Because I think there's not only such thing as a trap game, I think there's also such thing as an anti-trap game where a team had a disappointing loss and they're really due to bounce back. And I think this is a situation where the Browns are in. I don't think the Browns are going to come out flat, or I think they're going to execute a lot better. They couldn't execute much worse than they did last week. No. And I just think, if you just look at what the Browns have done, the win over the Steelers, the win over the Titans, they've got talent. They can execute on offense. We've just marveled that we have a team that seems to usually score 20 or so points, which is just a very refreshing thing as a Browns fan over the last 5 to 8 years. So basically, the Browns have a golden opportunity to show that last week was an aberration, and that this is a pretty darn good team. Not perfect, sometimes they'll lay an egg, but this is a great chance to bounce back, especially at home. And I know the Raiders are going to be kind of hungry for a win. They know they've got the champions, the Seahawks, next week. They know that this is And they were even talking, the Raiders were this week, about, hey, the Jaguars did it, now we can do it too. They were mentioning that openly. And but I think that the Browns have a very good situation where they can just stop this in their tracks and come up with a victory over the Raiders, because the Raiders just don't have a whole lot going for them right now.
I agree with you, Jeff. Absolutely. And that's why I said I'm not sitting here predicting the Browns are going to win, but they have to. There's no other way. You go out and lay an egg back-to-back weeks like this, and then all bets are off. And then it becomes, listen, if you're, whether you want to look at quarterbacks, whether you want to look at other positions, if you're a fan or not a fan of Brian Hoyer, that conversation changes. No matter how much Mike Pettin doesn't want it to. I mean, he's sitting here going, man, Brian Hoyer, just go out here and do your thing. And I'm sure he believes that he will. I do too. I really do. Defensively, the Raiders don't scare me incredibly much in the pass game.
Right.
So I think that the Browns should be able to go out there and even with just a safe game plan, be able to go out there and do their thing. They have to, because that's only going to get louder. It takes me right to one of the points I was going to make yesterday. Kyle Shanahan, during his after practice, talking with the media. I'll tell you what, after the first couple of questions, after the first question, and I joked about this yesterday about how the media makes an art form out of crafting these Manziel questions. They make an art form as well out of not liking the answer that they got, so finding as many ways as possible to ask the exact same question again in a different way. Like if I read you some of these is Brian Hoyer the type of quarterback that elevates the team on a bad day? Blah, blah, blah. Answer. Was he feeling the rush? Did you think about going to Johnny Manziel? He answers those questions, right? So then they move on. Here comes the next guy. Well, Pettin said there was a mention of Johnny Manziel. Well, I already talked about that. It was just a quick discussion. Next question. Do you think Manziel could have jump-started the offense? Next question. After he said probably not. Next question. Do you think Manziel's ready to be put into the game, like for real, just in case you need him? And then the next question, why did Hoyer struggle so much throwing the ball? Next question, how much better has Manziel gotten at throwing the ball? I'm telling you, man. Next question, what do you think about the read option, which, of course, is one of the things that you would run with Johnny Manziel? Next question, can you tweak the read option with multiple quarterbacks to make it more effective? And then I'm telling you, it's like an art form, and you can see the exasperation in the coaches have fun with it because they know what's going on too. It's like, man, you will find a way to get me to say that Brian Hoyer is one bad throw away from being out of this game, but I'm just going to keep giving you the same answer. But it's amazing to watch people just ask the same question in a different way. It's like they get mad, and while somebody else asks a question, they're like, all right, man, let me just ask that a different way. And then they'll rephrase the same question and expect a different answer. It's hilarious. But that's only going to get worse if things go worse this week here. So the Browns absolutely have to take care of business. This crowd's going to be hot. They're going to feel like they're the 12th man on the field helping the Browns win this game. So you have to take advantage of that and just go take care of business. Just quiet people down for a week and then get ready for the next one.
That's what we'd like to see. It's funny you're talking about those reporters. It's like those questionnaires you get when you're trying to apply for a job, and they give you like 100 questions. Like question number 88. Have you ever thought about stealing from your company? Like, you've already asked that 50 times in a different way. Yes. It's like there's a certain answer that you want, and you're just not getting it. I think definitely this is this is definitely a game where the Browns can have the fans on their side, have momentum on their side, and, a good chance to say, this didn't work last week. We can bounce back against a team that's not very good. I mean, it's one thing you try to bounce back, and the other team is somebody like the Ravens or something like that, but this is a team that hopefully won't give you too much resistance when you put things together and bounce back, and hopefully you can make a few plays, maybe make a few plays on defense. Carr's been pretty good. Of course, they're going to try to switch things up and try to throw a lot of different exotic blitzes at him and try to force him into some mistakes. And that's what you have to do. But I think that really, if they can concentrate on stopping Darren McFadden, which I hope won't be too hard, I think they should definitely win this thing.
Yeah, one thing that I saw some people asking Jim O'Neill about this week, and I don't think the Browns need to worry because they already practice against it somewhat with Manziel and some of the plays that he runs on the second team in the scout. And so is running the Wildcat a bit because interim coach Sperano likes to do that. He's done it at least a play or two in all of their games so far this season. So the Browns say they've been repping for it this week. I don't know. I don't know if that's effective or not for them. Obviously not on the scoreboard too much, but I don't see that being a worry. If I were the Browns, I wouldn't even go out of my way too much to game plan for that because you're already somewhat limited practicing against it on a relatively regular basis anyway. But I'm with you. Look, last week I said it Monday. I said, I started to get a bad feeling in my stomach about 12:48 last Sunday as NFL Today. No, they're playing that package, which if you guys saw it, it was a great package. How long has it been since the Browns have been featured on the pregame show? And very good package. Then it comes back to the panel. Everybody, Coach Cowher, everybody's on the Browns bandwagon. Clean sweep. ESPN Game Day, clean sweep for the Browns. Our show last Friday, clean sweep for the Browns. At that point, I'm telling you, I said, man, the whole world is picking the Browns. Man, they better. I hope I'm wrong. I had this weird feeling in my gut. And then about a quarter into the game, I'm going, man, this game it feels like the game just hasn't started. Like we're just running in place. Just we're good enough to just anytime we want, we're gonna wake up and win this game. And then and it really seemed that way until the end. It was still 10-6 all the way through, and it's like, oh, we're gonna sleepwalk our way through this and win a bad football game. And then we bumbled and fumbled it away at the end. But I don't even want to pick. Ruiz texted me. He goes, hey, man, clean sweep on the panel. I said, I hope not, because it's a kiss of death. Now we're all going to pick the Raiders just to be safe here and go the opposite way. But I'm scared to ask. What do you got, Jeff Gorman?
Well, I personally think that even if the Browns aren't perfect, even if they don't look like a super well-oiled machine, I think that even if they're kind of playing, maybe about 75% effectiveness, I just don't think the Raiders have the horses to beat the Browns. I mean, they're going to do their best. The Browns are going to hopefully perform a lot better, but I just don't think that the Raiders just have enough bullets in the gun to pull off the upset, especially not in Cleveland because, they've lost the last 6. They lost the previous 6 last year. This is a team that's almost forgotten how to win. So even if it's close, even if it gets down to the fourth quarter and we're all just biting our fingernails off, I think the Browns are going to come up with that big drive, that big play. I hope it doesn't come to this. But if it's close, I think the Browns are going to come up with that big play to win the game. But I'm going to predict that it's not going to get that close. I got the Browns winning this one 27-13.
There we go. You got the offense coming back. I think I chuckle in my head yesterday, just the way he put it. Kendall Lewis talking about the Jags and the Raiders. He goes, now just because they're a bad team doesn't mean they're not an NFL team. These guys are here because somebody's grandma said it was okay for them to come play with the guys by the street light, man. They're in the league for a reason, and the Browns have to. That's why I think that's the difference between this week and last week is you can say maybe they looked past it, and maybe they did. That's ridiculous if they did. But I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. I'm not saying maybe I probably haven't done that once or twice in my life too. But, man, that's gone. You have talk about no shelter, no shade, nowhere to hide. You are wide open on an island to yourself this week. There is no looking past. There is no riding the wave and trap game. None of that. You're coming in off of a loss to a bad team that beat you up in their stadium. You're coming home against a winless team, and the whole focus is on you. Yeah, there's nothing there. You're standing naked in the middle of the room. You better back it up.
That's right. I think, the thing is, I don't think the Browns did overlook the Jaguars. I think they did their best. I just think they just played a really bad football game. I don't think they were overconfident.
I don't think they
didn't take the Jags seriously. I just think they just straight up lost to what on that day was a better team. Maybe not every day, but that day they were definitely a better team than the Browns. But
for sure.
You're right. I think they know that, you can't do this again against the Raiders. You really have to win, and hopefully they'll respond to the pressure positively rather than curling up into a ball. Hopefully they'll show, hey, this is the team that we're supposed to be, and at least right now we're 4-3. That is after beating the Raiders. So I think they're going to rise to the occasion.
Well, we'll see. We'll talk about it next week, Jeff. Let's see what the Browns do. Browns and Raiders. So there's one for Jeff Gorman. I may have to go Raiders just to be different, even though I don't mean it. I may have to say it with my fingers crossed or something like that. One of them old schoolyard tricks like that. No, I had give backs or something.